a sneak preview right now. This isn't the official show, and why is the camera doing that to me now? Hi, welcome to Steven's Kitchen. I'm actually starting a couple minutes early. I was putting together, I was trying to put together some pizzas and stick them in the oven so I could pull them out halfway through the show, and that hasn't happened yet. So, is anybody there yet? Or it's still working? Hi, I saw a like, hi. So what I'm doing is I just finished my first batch of pizza dough. So you weren't supposed to see all this getting made and put in the oven, but you get to see it now. We'll go through the whole dough making process and everything in just a moment. Pizza's a lot of fun because you can make it whatever you want to make it. You don't have to make it a specific recipe or specific toppings. It can be whatever you like. A lot of times I make pizza out of the night before's leftovers. Okay? So nothing says it has to be anything specific. Like I say, we're going to go over the dough recipe in just a minute. I was hoping to have these in the oven. You weren't supposed to see this part. But the show can't be late, so I had to just get going. What I did for this, you can make pizza in any cast iron that you want to. So what I've done is I've picked 4 cast iron pans. So I'm using this one pizza dough to make 4 pizzas. After I get them in the oven, we're going to walk through the steps of making the dough, and we're going to make one big pizza at that time. So, like with any of the cast iron, and I've said, last week, when I use my cast iron, I'm going to head, and I had all my pans in the oven. They were warming up as I was preheating the oven to 450 degrees. I've just taken them out. They are hot. But before I make each pizza, I'm just going to dab a little bit of that oil in there again. And what that does is that helps to season the pan so that the pan's ready for the dough. This is a fun pan. I explained gate marks last week, and that's how cast iron was made before 1900. This is a gate marked pan. This is an 8-inch flat griddle. Okay? This is a 6-inch frying pan. All the pans have numbers on them, usually on the handle or on the back. So this is a 6. Sorry, it's backwards. So I've got the 8 flat, the 6 griddle, or the 6 frying pan. Here is a 3 frying pan. And here is a 3 griddle. So now that I've got those all oiled, I'm going to take my pizza dough and lay it right in there. So my next one, I just have to work a little extra flour into these. The dough, when you make it, comes out a little bit sticky. So if you cover it with just a little bit of extra flour, and then start working it through and around. I actually always keep a little jar of flour handy. I've got the big bags in the pantry for when I need to haul them out, but when I'm doing something like this and I need just a little bit to dab my dough into, it's real handy just to be able to grab that little bit. This one's a little bigger, I'm going to put it in there. And like I say, my pans are very hot right now. But you've got that cold dough in there. So I'm just going to push that around the inside so it covers the bottom of the pan. 2 more. Julia Child always said, don't apologize for anything that you do in the kitchen, just serve it with confidence. Well, I shouldn't have started out apologizing for being late, because I'm still cooking for you. And I got a family looking forward to pizza tonight, tomorrow. They're going to have it. You know what, that one I'm going to put in this little pan, because it's more the little pan size. It doesn't have to be perfect. None of this has to be perfect. You're cooking for your family in your home. There, that one's coming out a little bit stronger, a little stretchier. Now, don't think me a big sinner, but I use jarred spaghetti sauce for my sauce. I'm not Italian like my friends, some of my friends are. I have not made a lot of spaghetti sauce or pizza sauce. And when I went to the store yesterday, I found jars on sale for $1 each. Okay. So I'm going to sauce up all these crusts. Big debate on my house whether cheese goes on first or sauce goes on first. I say sauce. And I just want to cover it up pretty close to the edges so you don't get that dry crust. This first crust I put down, it is rising so much already because it's in the warm pan. So that's going to be a nice thick crust. But I use different pans just to show you, you can use any cast iron pans for pizza. You can even use one of those, one of the griddles. You know, it's flat on one side for pancakes and the other side has got the grill marks. You can go ahead and use that flat side that you would for pancakes. Heat that up, grease that whole thing up, and just pour it on over. This one's also rising real nice. Getting a little rise to it, a little puffiness to it. Saw a couple questions. I wish you lived closer. So do I. Will you show notes with your crust recipe? Yeah, I will. After we're all done, I will post the crust recipe. It's a real quick and easy one. There's not a lot to it at all. So, I didn't even grab my cheese yet. Use what cheese you have. Sometimes I have a big bag of mozzarella, sometimes I have a big bag of cheddar. It's whatever you've got. If you got some, you know, slices of Havarti, use the slices of Havarti. Again, you can make a pizza out of whatever you want. Yes, you can do the classic sausage, pepperoni, mozzarella, and make it real simple that way. The way I do things in my kitchen a lot of times, Stephen does all the grocery shopping. So he comes home, he throws all the groceries in the refrigerator, then I go look in the refrigerator and go, okay, I can make dinner out of this and this and this and this. I actually like a double layer of cheese. So I do sauce and cheese. And then I'll do toppings. And then I'll do a little bit more cheese on the top. I like cheesy pizza, so I use a lot of cheesy. Okay. I have a little purple onion all chopped up. Sometimes I feel like purple onion, sometimes I feel like yellow. Again, it's what I got in the pantry. Sometimes I like to cut it in circles, you know, do the rings. And sometimes I like to chop it up in little pieces. If we've got the kids home for the weekend or during the week or whatever, green peppers. And A lot of times then I'll make 4 individual pizzas and everybody can have exactly what they want on their pizza. Instead of just making one big one and oh, you pick off what you don't want. Hey, mushrooms. I can't wait to pull these out of the oven and show you when they're all done. And how they slip out of the cast iron. Because we oiled things up the way we're supposed to. And we're going to do 2 with sausage. We'll do 2 with pepperoni. This is Italian sausage in the links. I just pulled the sausage out of its casing and used that. Just pulled it out of the casing, browned it up, and it's ready to go. And Julia says don't apologize, but I'm going to apologize that my seasoning wasn't opened already. That's why I was trying to make the first batch first to make sure I had everything ready to go. I would have had the cheese out of the refrigerator. It's early planning, and I'm a human being, and I don't have a production team. So I'm going to use just a little bit of Italian seasoning on all these. And yes, of course, fresh herbs are always better than the large box store versions. Okay. I'm going to throw a little more cheese on these and put them in the oven. What's going to be nice is when I get home from church tomorrow, I won't have to cook. I'll have pizza ready for everybody. It's funny, we'll make, my daughter's 24 in Chicago. Hi, Stephanie. But when we got the 2 younger boys here, the 2.5-year-old and the 5-year-old, we'll make them their own little 3-inch pizzas, and then we'll make adult pizzas. I say adult because I like jalapenos. And this one is going to be my dinner tonight. Okay. Like I say, these are going in a 450-degree oven for about 20 minutes. Pardon my backside. Don't you be talking about me when I'm bent over like this. Hey Siri, set timer for 20 minutes. Come on Siri, everybody's waiting. There we go, 20 minutes. Okay, this is where the show would have started. I pre-cooked the sausage. Yeah, you never want to put raw meat on. It's a very good question, Sylvia. You don't want to put raw meat on there because you're not going to cook it long enough to actually cook the meat. So whether you're using chicken or, I've gotten the pork ribs and sliced them up, and I've fried those up first and seasoned them and put them on pizza. Any of your meats, any of your meats you want to pre-cook and put on there. Your vegetables, you don't have to, but I have also sauteed my vegetables as well. And like I say, I like to use leftovers for my pizza. So if I had made meatballs with mushroom gravy the night before, I'm going to pull those meatballs out, warm them up a little bit, and I'm going to throw them on top of a pizza. Why not? I've done barbecue chicken before, then taken the barbecue chicken and shredded up and put it on there. Yes, it does. Thank you for noticing, David. I have to be all put together. I need blue aprons is what I need. Okay, we're going to start our crust. Now, in the first bowl, we're going to put yeast, and sugar. I'm sorry, it's 1 package of yeast, but I usually buy the jars of yeast, and a jar of yeast, it's actually 2 1/4 teaspoons equals 1 package of the dry yeast. The jars are a whole lot more expensive than buying 20 packages. So I buy a jar, keep that in the refrigerator, it's ready to go. So 1 package or 2 teaspoons, 2 1/4 teaspoons. Also put in 1 tablespoon of white sugar. Now I need 1 cup of water that is about 110 to 115 degrees. I showed you last week my little fancy gun for temperatures. So what I'm doing is I'm running the hot water in my sink, and I'm just scanning the temperature of it until I hit that 110 or 120, 110 to 115. So you can see right now it's 93. But this way you never cook your yeast, and you always get it warm enough. 104, 106, 108. Okay, 110. This is always a good check too when you got kids in the house, that you can make sure that your hot water is not too hot that it's going to burn anybody. Hi, Sandy. Hi, Pamela. Okay, so the 1 cup of water in there. Just going to give that a little stir. And that's got to rest for 5 minutes. So I'm just going to put that aside. Now, we're going to mix up the dry portions of it. I use, for some reason, we bought a whole bag of wheat flour. And so I'm combining my flours. Instead of just using whole wheat flour, just using white flour, I like to combine them. So I got whole wheat and I got white flour. Many, many moons ago, when I was really, really young, I actually came and gave a girl flowers. Get it? Wheat flour and whole. I brought her 2 little bags of flowers. You know who you are. Okay. Ring. So 2½ cups. The other ½ cup is just white. I'm also going to put in 1 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm going to mix this up because I want the salt and the flours to be all mixed. And you know what? Just because I feel fun today, I'm actually going to put some of this Italian seasonings right in my dough. Why not? If it tastes bad, I'll never do it again. If it tastes good, it'll be a part of my recipe all the time. That's what I'm talking about, playing with your food and finding out what you like and what you don't like. Recipes are good guidelines. If you really, if you want to play safe, follow the recipe. If you've had the recipe a couple times and you know you like a little more of this or that, then go ahead and make the recipe your own. Put some extra in there. Like I say, what's the worst thing that can happen? It doesn't taste exactly what you're looking for. Hi, Stephanie. Baby girl's on too. Okay. I don't know, for those of you that are Facebook friends, you'll see that I found a very special pan this week that I was very excited about. And the pictures that I showed on Facebook of all cruddy and crusted pan, here it is. It is a Griswold number 8, and I didn't have an 8. I just got done seasoning it until I got a little bit too much oil in there. You can see the droplets. But I'm not worried about there. I just finished seasoning this morning. That little bit of extra oil in there is going to wear off as I use the pan. The other thing I wanted to show you while we're waiting our 5 minutes, this is also another number 6 pan, but I use it to make sausage this morning, and the sausage stuck just a little bit. Even though I put a little bit of olive oil in there, it stuck. That's not a big deal. I'm going to rinse this out with a sponge and hot water, dry it. My oven's already at 450 degrees, so I'm going to dry this, put a little bit of oil in it, and put it in the oven. And it'll season another coat that way. Season another coat. So like I said, even though it's stuck a little bit in there, that's pretty darn good. And that's just rinsing with water. That's all you need to do with your cast iron. The majority of the time is just a little bit of water. So I'm going to dry it out with a paper towel. Going to use the dry end of the paper towel and get just a little bit of oil. Hitting this up with oil. Then I'm going to put this in the oven upside down and just leave it in there for a while. Like I say, it really is seasoned. It did a little bit of sticking, so I'm going to do just an extra coat and an extra seasoning. Those pieces look so good. Okay. We're going to say it's 5 minutes because it's pretty close. So I'm now going to pour the yeast, sugar, warm water mixture into my bowl. And I want to make sure that I've gotten all of it. Okay. Now we just stir this up. Oh, with 2 tablespoons of olive oil. You don't add the olive oil to the end. I don't know if olive oil is just not good for the yeast process of the yeast growing, but it wants you to wait to put the olive oil in. Now this is going to mix up a little bit sticky. This is not going to look like dough right away. You're just trying to mix it up to get all the flour that's in there wet. And then we will do some more with this dough in a bit. Okay. You see, it just comes together, but it doesn't necessarily make a real pretty dough. So this now has to rest for 5 minutes. Okay. While that's resting this time, I want to show you a breakfast pizza. Oh my gosh, I'm making 6 pizzas today. So what I've done for the breakfast pizza, I have shredded one big potato, one big baking potato. And it's been soaking in water because I didn't want it all turning brown while we were waiting. So I'm draining the water out. You get much better hash browns if the potatoes are dry. So after draining the bowl of, like I said, this is one big potato, I'm putting a paper towel over it and I'm squeezing out any more water that I can get out of it. You want these as dry as they can be. I think breakfast pizza is a lot of fun. And we're going to have this for breakfast tomorrow morning. Even though I'd love to eat the whole thing up now. So I'm going to put that, pan's still hot. So this is the number 8. This is the pan that I just got. This is my first time cooking in it. I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom. And with my magic paper towel, run that around the bottom. I'm so excited. This is my brand new pan, Griswold number 8. I picked it up at an antique store for 20 bucks. As I look through the books on it, it was made somewhere between 1909 and 1920, and its value was somewhere around $60 to $80. Score. Okay. So I'm just dumping my potatoes in the pan, my hash browns that I made. I'm pushing them around the bottom. Okay. I'm going to add salt and pepper. So a sprinkle of kosher salt. I like kosher salt and everything because I can see where it's going. It's not like the little fine salt that you can't see going anywhere. Pepper. Now, I'm going to use some more of my sausage. And, you know, a little green pepper and onion would probably be good in there too. So the hash browns is the base. Then sausage, onions. Now, what you may or may not be ready for. I'm going to take a small glass, little cup, and I'm just going to make 4 little wells in the potatoes. Just smush it down in there. But I still want the potatoes covering the bottom, but I want some little dimples in there. Then we're cracking eggs. Yay, eggs. Okay. Then I'm going to cover with some cheese. Lots of cheese. Okay. Now that's going to go in the same 450 oven for about 10 minutes. The dog heard the bag of cheese, so Dobby is now in here at my feet, wanting to see if I dropped any cheese on the floor for him. I have to take a pan out. Or 2. And I'll put this one in. And it's still hot. Okay. So now we're going to finish our dough and get that ready to go onto our other pan here. I think this is where you walked in on me before. Did I get over there? You can't quite see. Here we go. There. Now you can see what I'm doing. So this is the dough that I made up, just sitting for 5 minutes or so. Still a little sticky. So I'm going to grab some flour and flour up my fingers and hands. And I'm going to dump it out on my cutting board. Okay. Again, a bit more flour. Now I'm just going to start forming it into my pizza crust. This dough doesn't need a lot of kneading, but you just want to make sure that it's all covered with flour and it's all even. If I hadn't dropped my rolling pin on the floor, and my marble rolling pin, and broken it, I would be using my rolling pin to get a little more stretch out of this. Okay. I showed you my cowboy platter last week. And I'm going to put my big pizza in that. Again, you don't have to, I know somebody out there bought one, the cast iron pizza pan, but you don't have to have a cast iron pizza pan. You can use any pan you've got as a cast iron pizza pan. The biscuit one you have to have for biscuits. Okay, you don't have to. I don't like those kind of rules. Okay. So I'm going to take my pizza crust and drop it into the pan. I'm going to bring this over here, so hopefully you can see me a little better. Again, the pan is hot, but the dough is cold. So I can do some playing with it in here. And that whole dough recipe fits really nice in the bottom of this pan. Very happy with that. So like I say, I made 4 smaller pizzas, or I can make 1 big pizza with that recipe. Now, this one's going to be loaded. Again with my no-name brand, cheap, on sale spaghetti sauce. And I don't like a super, super thick layer of sauce, but I want it sauced up to the edges, so you get sauce in every bite. Now this is going to get sausage, it's going to get pepperoni, mushrooms, everything. The nice thing about this cowboy platter is the lip that it's got around it. It's got like a little 1/4-inch lip. So the dough is actually sitting inside of it, and I can mount it up pretty good, and it's all going to get caught by that lip. I'm also putting, so we got sausage, pepperoni. I don't know why, but pepperoni is usually in the refrigerator here as a snack. I don't snack on it, I use it for pizzas. However, some people like to snack on it. But that wouldn't be me. So pepperoni in our house is a staple whether you're making pizza or not. I once made a pizza. I had a bunch of vegetables that I needed to cook up and some chicken I needed, so I sauteed everything in a pan together until the chicken was cooked and the vegetables were soft. I threw that on top of a pizza. I say there really are no rules for pizza. There's my mushrooms. This is going to be a family one, so I'm not putting the jalapenos on it. Onions. Green pepper. I don't know how well you guys can see this, but I can't wait to eat this one. And then, of course, cheese. Oh, our first ones are done. So I'm going to cover this with cheese, put it in the oven. There. Okay. Now, I have to pull pizzas out, and I can put the monster in. It's hot in here. 450, go figure. Okay. Can you see how beautiful this is? Yeah. Hey Siri, set timer for 20 minutes. Okay. Just going to clean off my board real quick. And I'm going to show you how non-stick cast iron is. How many pans can you just lift a pizza out like that? And look, there's really nothing in it. I'm going to wipe that with a paper towel. The only time with pizza that I ever really get any trouble with cleaning the pan, if the cheese ran all over, then sometimes the cheese can burn on the cast iron, and that you may have to scrape off. Pizza number 2. And again, voila. This one did have a little bit of burning cheese on the side. So when it's cool, I'm going to rinse it off with water, clean it up, oil it, heat it up a little bit. But do you see how all of these just slip right out of their pans? All clean and fine. Those are well-seasoned pans when they can come out like that. Now to cut into the jalapeno one. That is a good crunchy crust. As you're pushing the knife through it, it just crunches on the side. I'm going to let that piece sit for just a minute because I'm not biting with fire in my mouth like that. But all of them. See that crust in there? And see how it's golden? It's not burnt. It looks a little darker on there. It's not burnt, but it is crunchy. It's a good crust. Let's try. Oh god. Hot food. Big jalapeno. Very hot. I probably could have put some more cheese on it, make it really cheesy and stretchy. But I really like the combination of the whole wheat flour with the white flour. Gives it much more texture and much more bite to the crust. And I'm a good crust person. Okay. The breakfast pizza will be just a couple more minutes. Yeah, I don't want to make sure those eggs are set. I don't like runny whites. I like runny yellows. I do not like the runny whites. And having the hash brown on that is really good too. I'm going to plate these and move them aside real quick. But like I say, it's funny. I make these little 3-inch pizzas for the boys, but they're too big for them. So they usually end up splitting one. And then after the kids have gone to bed for the night, around 8 or 8:30, 9 o'clock, somebody in the house tends to heat up the leftovers. I'm not confessing, I'm not pointing fingers. But like I say, it's just nice to have the options of making smaller pizzas, eating smaller sections, and having more pizza for later. Yep, that's one plate. Like Julia Child, I'm placing all the food on the table. Unfortunately, I don't have a camera in there. Like I say, it's such a good crisp crust. We had gotten some cornmeal some time ago and tried putting cornmeal on the bottom of the pans. But the cornmeal that we bought was so fine that it was just like flour laying up and it did absolutely nothing. So if you want to do cornmeal on the bottom of your crust, you want to make sure it's a very grainy, coarse cornmeal. Then you can, oil your pan, sprinkle that, a little bit of that on the bottom, and then put your dough on top of that. Does anybody have any questions? Thank you very much. You like my pizzas, huh? And again, I made, there were 4 pizzas in there that we just took out. We've got the breakfast pizza in there, and we got the big one in there. Like I said, the big one's going to take, another 20 minutes. I don't know how long you plan on hanging with me. I can talk. Sure, I can talk long enough. Did you hear the crunch of that crust? And I got the jalapeno in that one. Listen. Could you hear it? That's good. Any questions at all about cast iron? About cooking? Well, I drink a little bit of water, and that's a fiery jalapeno. I left the seeds in it. Got them at a farmer's market. One of my dear friends told me when you go to a farmer's market, ask them if they have anything that they're not going to sell because it hit the ground or got damaged. I got a whole bunch of the hottest jalapenos I've ever had in my life. You could, Sylvia, you could do a thinner crust. Sure. You'd probably have to work a little bit more flour into it when you need it than I was working on. The little bit of flour that I put in it just to form it into those circles gives me a thicker crust. But if you were to work the flour until the bread was a little stretchier, then you could divide it and get it out into a thinner crust. Okay. I'm going to check on the breakfast one. Oh my gosh. Can you see this? You might be able to hear it sizzling. So there's my eggs and all the cheese and the sausage on it. This one might be a little more challenged slipping out of there, but it should slip out. Which reminds me and brings up another point about cast iron. You cannot store food in the cast iron in your refrigerator. So if you cook something like this but you don't eat it all, you have to get it out of the pan. You can't keep it there. How rude of somebody to be ringing my doorbell right now. The dogs will scare them away and we'll be there. 1 moment, please. Stop. Sorry about that. It was Mr. Amazon dropping off a package. I'll check in a little bit. So do not store food in your cast iron overnight. Don't ever put your cast iron in the refrigerator. Cast iron will rust if it has moisture kept in it for a long period of time. Cold. If it's hot and you're cooking with it, it's not a problem. But if you put it away cold, it can start rusting. And that pan that I rescued and cleaned up, somebody had let that rust. There was a whole lot of rust on the inside of it. So I did the self-cleaning thing, rinsed it off and everything. This is the only time I will use an SOS pad. After I've done the self-cleaning oven, I've scrubbed it out with an SOS pad to get out of that rust. So once I got that all cleaned up to bare metal, then it was ready to season the 3 times. You can see how beautiful it is now. Usually, too, you want to rest your pizzas for a few minutes before pulling them out. Sometimes just working in on the sides a little bit. Okay. My potato layer was so thick that it didn't crust up real nice on the bottom to allow the whole thing to slip off. It happens. So, just going to grab my magic big spoon and I'll scoop some out. So it didn't work out as I planned this time. Oh well, it's still good food. So the hash browns, you can't really see through the bowl, the hash browns did brown up and crisp a bit. My yolks still are a little bit runny in the middle, they're pretty much cooked. But there's still a little bit of runniness in there, which is the way I like them. So they're a soft bake. I don't want to burn myself in front of everybody. So you see the mozzarella cheese, I got egg, I got hash browns, I got sausage. Oh, so good. Now I am saving this for tomorrow morning, so I'm going to scoop all this out and put it into a container that will save it for tomorrow. But it is so good, seriously. It's not quite 20 minutes on the other pizza, but I want to pull it out and show you where we're at. See, it's not quite there, but the cheese is melting. It slips back and forth in the pan. It's not sticking at all. Okay? It's going to need just a few more minutes, but I'm trying to keep the shows to roughly 30-35 minutes. I don't want to keep you all on. So if you don't have any questions right now, no questions? Thank you for joining me in my kitchen. This is Stephen's Kitchen for Stephen's family. Peace out, love, hugs. I'll see you next week. Next week we're going to do pancakes. Probably 4 or 5 different kinds of pancakes. And I hope you'll enjoy it. Thanks again for tuning in. Bye-bye.